look up the counties again to make sure I remember which ones were which. But as you can see, thankfully, much of Michigan is a shade of green in this map. And like any true Michigan fan, I can tell you where things are simply by this, right? But if you notice that red county, kind of where your first knuckle is, that's that county up and above to the right. That's the county I grew up in, Ogemaw County, where my dad's still pastored. He's been there since '76. Now, the thing is, you look at that and say, okay, well, that's a light green. They need 1 to 10 churches, but they're okay. My dad's the only church in that entire county. Because the math on this uses one church per 10,000 people. And that county has, I looked it up right before, it's 22,000. When I was growing up, the Tri-County area between the county I grew up in, the one right to the east of us, and the one right below us, had all combined about 37,000 people. So when you look at that map, I need you to understand everything kind of you see from that thumb area north, all those counties are going to be 8, 10, 20,000 people max. And so when you see the dark green, it's a sufficient number of churches. That probably still means there's 1, maybe 2 churches. And so in the county I grew up in, that one church means anybody in the county I grew up in that wants to go to a Bible-believing Baptist church, some of them will have to drive 45 minutes to get there, depending on where they're coming from that county. Okay. The red county right there where the knuckle is, that's Roscommon County. I'm sorry, Gladwin County. There was a church there growing up, and it's red now, meaning there's 0 churches there, which means that one's closed down. Now the county right to the west of the county I grew up in, it's dark green. I know this guy's still got a good church. And they have a Christian school there. We used to interact, play basketball with those when I went to school at my dad's church. So that they're still going strong. And I know a young man that actually went to school with it at my dad's church. He's over there working with them. So there's good churches out there, but most of these places, there's one in the county I grew up in. Again, one Baptist church right now. I can tell you off the top of my head, there's at least 2 Catholic church, 2 Methodist church, a Friends church, and maybe a Presbyterian as well. There's a lot more of things that are alternative to what you and I would know every day. But if you got the next slide there, Jeff. So for the counties, the biggest counties, your first 3 counties there, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, are all Detroit counties. So Wayne County is going to be Detroit right outside. Oakland is a suburb county, and so is Macomb. Kent County is Grand Rapids, which is kind of where Detroit is, but if you go to the opposite side, close to the lake there, right across from Chicago. And then Washtenaw County, go blue, Ann Arbor, all right? I said that for Brother Chad. So, and you can see there, those are some of the bigger counties, right? So you look at the populations there, but when you see Wayne County, right, I want you to think 192,000 people in Wayne County. Right, that's a very populous, Detroit Wayne County Airport, right? Detroit Airport, when you fly into Michigan, Detroit Airport, that's Wayne County, right? Only 192,000 people. Again, 20, 30 years ago, before Detroit and the auto industry died, right, this would have probably been a very, very different map because there would not have been a lot of churches still in Detroit, Wayne County area. But even though that map looks good, you just, to think about the fact that when I moved to North Carolina, when I moved to Georgia, when I first moved to Georgia, I remember looking in the phone book to start looking for a Baptist church and like going down this list of dozens of churches and trying to figure out how do I start figuring out which one is the one I'm supposed to go to, because there's so many options. But if you go up to Michigan where I grew up and you were trying to find a good church, it would be, well, there's probably 3 in the surrounding counties and the one I'm living in, and how close can I get to one of them? And at the end of the day, how well am I gonna match? I mean, even down here, right? The Lord led us to this church when I first moved here. He led us to this church pretty quickly within 2 or 3, 4 church visits, right? But again, think around here how many Baptist churches you could go to before you found the one. If you're not looking, if you're not looking right. So, just perspective on that. Especially when you look up in some of the northern counties or out west, like Preacher talks about out west. Well, out west is much the same way, except their counties are bigger, right? Out there, they may have one or two churches, and you could be in hours, right? Because once the counties you get out west, counties, I did a lot of work in Arizona. The counties in Arizona, there's very, very few. They have about a third as many as we do. And you can literally drive for 3 or 4 hours to get across the county in Arizona. And, deep in Mormon country there, I drove through towns just like you'd think they were all condemned, just houses just in horrible shape, people barely driving cars that could function, but yet in every one of those little towns was a shiny, bright Mormon church. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of buildings sitting there so that they could be in that town for a bunch of people who in the mountains of Arizona were, probably living on $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. But there's no Baptist churches.
Right.
So, is that good?
Yeah, man.
That's about all I had to say. Thanks.